Hey guys, so here with a quick video, and as you can see, this is going to be on the Cigar Humidimeter Pro. So for those of you who don't know, this is a moisture meter. What this does is this gives you the moisture content of your cigar. Now, moisture meters are nothing new. Typically when you see them, you'll see them for wood. So if you are a carpenter and you work with wood, or if you're trying to burn wood for a fire, etc., and you want to make sure that your wood's at the proper moisture content to do whatever you're about to do with it, you'd use one of those, a moisture content reader. That said, obviously this one is one that's tuned for cigars. And as far as I know, Cigar Medics is the only company that makes moisture meters for cigars. The only thing I don't like about this product is that it takes the moisture content reading, which is usually in percentages, and it converts it using their proprietary formula into an RH reading. Now that's fundamentally wrong because there's no such thing as the RH of a solid object, cigars included. There's the moisture content, but I guess they did it because cigar smokers are already used to the term relative humidity, so they just did it in a way that makes, I guess, sense to cigar smokers. Me personally, I would prefer that you just educate people on what the proper moisture content of a cigar should be, which is 12 to 14%, by the way, and then just give them that. This way, you're not relying on somebody's proprietary formula. But that said, I've seen online quite a few times that these things are useless or gimmicks or unnecessary, right? And I wholeheartedly disagree with the first two. I will say these are unnecessary, as cigar smokers have not had these for the majority of the history of cigar smoking, and there are other ways to tell whether or not your cigar is properly humidified and or ready to smoke at whatever level you like it. But at the same time, a lot of that's guesswork, and that's where I think the actual usage of this comes in, because it's giving you empirical data, hard numbers to let you know that your cigar is where you like it. Okay, so to use one of these, slide the probes up, turn this on, let it zero out. And you got 60. Let's take another one. 60. And then also take another reading at the head, because you're usually going to have more moisture up here because the cap's there and you have nowhere for it to go. So you got 64, 65. All right. So one issue that I regularly see in regards to the humidimeter is that it's inaccurate. And I think a lot of the reason people say it's inaccurate is because they conflate the RH reading that it's giving them with the environment that it's stored in. So they keep their cigars at 70 and 70, and then they probe their cigar and then they get 61% RH, right? And then they're like, that's not accurate. I keep my cigars at 70. Why isn't it saying 70 or something close to 70? And so in their mind, it's inaccurate. You have to remember that this is taking the moisture reading, the moisture content reading of this cigar, and converting it into an RH reading. That's not an exact science. It's not an exact measurement because, one, it's a proprietary formula, and two, there's no RH for a solid object. And so when people say that it's inaccurate, comparing it to their humidor, well, no duh, they're not the same thing. And that's another reason why I don't like the fact that it does that little conversion as opposed to just giving you the RH of your cigar. Because if you know the RH of your cigar is the proper RH, because if you know the proper moisture content of your cigar is supposed to be between 12 and 14%, and then you keep your cigars in a humidor at 69% relative humidity, and then you got to use this and it gives you 13%, which is right in the middle, you go, oh yeah, my cigar is properly humidified. But if this converts that 13% to 62% and you keep it at 70, it's very easy to get confused when this is telling you that it's an RH. And that's one of the reasons why I think that decision to convert moisture content into RH wasn't necessarily a good one. But outside of that, I do think this thing has plenty of actual uses. If you take the data that this is giving you for what it is, just in a vacuum, in and of itself, and you know that when this thing gives you 62 to 65%, we'll just say, right, for your cigars when you probe them, and you get great smokes out of it, right? But if this thing says it's at 57%, and your cigar tastes like shit, or if this thing says your cigar is at 69% and it doesn't burn properly, then that's where this thing has merit, because it's giving you a range. Even though the measurement you're getting is proprietary and it's not necessarily a reflection of, you know, your humidor or whatever, if you know that when you probe your cigars and this thing gives you 62%, that you're gonna get a good smoke out of that cigar, then this thing has just done its job. And then you can more easily assure yourself a proper smoke. Now, can you, you know, pinch your cigars, roll them, see the firmness, look at the sheen on them, make sure it's not cracked, and or if you're dry boxing like me and you're, oh yeah, the cigar shrunk, the label's moving up and down on it. Yeah, you can do all that stuff, and that's great, and that works, right? We've been doing it for hundreds of years as far as cigars go. But if you want a more empirical method, if you want something that's more accurate and less nuanced, there's less room for error, then I would go with this. Again, I also use this, me personally, if I get cigars in the mail, right? And I want to know if my cigars came in over humidified, dry, or even ready to smoke. As soon as I get a cigar out of the mail, I'll take this thing, I'll take a cigar out of the pack, and then I'll probe it. And then that lets me know where that cigar is at, if it's ready to smoke or not. That also lets me know, you know, especially over time, if I'm ordering from Cigar Page or Small Batch or JRs or whatever, do they consistently send cigars that are overly humidified, under humidified, properly humidified, etc. Or if I'm dry boxing and I take something out of my humidor and it's at 67%, which for me is a bit high, right? And I want to get it down to 60, 62%, then I can put it in a dry box and then I can monitor it over the course of a day, over the course of a couple of days, over the course of a couple of weeks, because I don't dry box my cigars in a non-humidified box. I just do it in a box that's humidified at a lower percentage than what I typically keep it at. So like me personally, I'll keep my regular humidors or my Tupperdoors actually at 65 to 69%, usually around 67, 68, right? And then I'll dry box them in a box that has a 62% Boveda pack. So my cigars are now sitting around 62, 63. And then this way, they're good for long-term storage, and then they'll stay right around that area where I want them, versus, oh, I'll leave it outside for a day, or I'll leave it in a non-humidified wooden box for a couple hours or a day. Like I could more slowly drop that humidity on my cigars. And then this thing lets me monitor that. Or if I'm going through my collection and I want to make sure that everything in my collection is properly humidified, then I'll go through stuff. I'll go through every box. I'll go through every layer and every tray, and not necessarily every cigar, but just every section of my box. And I'll pick some cigars, and then I'll take some measurements, and then I'll let you know whether or not my cigars are properly humidified week over week, month after month, etc. Or whether I need to add some humidification or, you know, anything along those lines. So this thing does have merit. It really does have good use. It's just you got to know what it's telling you, and then what you want to do with that information, or what you need to do with that information. So hopefully this video has helped somebody. As usual, thank you guys for the support, and I will catch you in the next one.